Thanks so much, Jacqueline, for that. And I'll have more details on the wind that's expected with our next low pressure system coming up in a second. But first, we want to head to Kevin. He's having some fun out there at the Markham Fair.
Giddy up, everybody.
Will do. Thank you very much, Kevin. We have our low pressure system that is headed our way in the weather, and we need to talk about it because it's going to bring a lot of rainfall to northern Ontario, and probably in the tune of, say, 50 to 80 millimeters of rain. That's quite possible. But see how the fronts come up? They're almost moving almost in a due north fashion. This is the cold front, which will pass the GTA, we expect, by the drive home tomorrow. So you'll be driving home in possibly some thunderstorms, possibly some heavy rain at times. Some thunderstorms are possible, and then we're going to be looking at strong winds. The winds definitely kicking up in advance and behind this low pressure system, which will be in the process at this point of rapidly intensifying, frankly. So the projected rainfall is highest in the northeast. There's also a little bit of lake enhancement expected around Georgian Bay and Lake Huron. So totals here will be 30 to 50 millimeters of rain. So when we look at our weekend fall storm that's on its way, the low pressure system is almost tracking right up into Lake Superior, at least on the east end of Lake Superior. So off it goes. With that, the cold front passes, we see the rain, and then colder temperatures behind this. In fact, in Toronto on Saturday, we have a low pressure system headed our way, and the cold front passing through the GTA by later day Friday. I'll give you details on that in a moment. Let's go yesterday to Barrie, where we had some gray, drizzly conditions. It hasn't been all that bad, but we're definitely going to be looking at a change. Before I get to that, let's check in with Kasia at Spring Ridge Farms.
Well, we're just having a super fun time in the Boo Barn. Give me a boo. Boo! At Spring Ridge Farm.
Scared. Thanks so much, Kasia. Let's take a look at our short-term forecast to help you plan your day ahead by about midday tomorrow, and that will be in anticipation of this low-pressure system that's coming in from, actually it originates in Texas, and it's coming up with quite a bit of rainfall for northeastern Ontario, and also a sizable amount of rain for the Georgian Bay area as well. But what happens with this, we see the warm front in red, the cold front in blue. That cold front does pass through the GTA for the drive home tomorrow. So it's likely going to be very windy. We have potential for some thunderstorms in there as well, non-severe storms, but some rumbles of thunder, some heavy rain at times, and the winds will be picking up in strength pretty significantly from the south as we head through the day tomorrow, especially southwestern Ontario, possibly gusts like 70, 80 kilometers per hour. Wouldn't rule that out. And then the heaviest rains to the northeast of 50 to 80 millimeters of rain. So the winds, initially from the south at this point, but then once the cold front passes through, the temperatures then plummet behind the cold front, and it also brings in the northwesterlies versus the southerlies in advance of the low. So it's windy on both sides. That's the forecast for you, looking at our 7-day. Angry Planet, you don't want to miss it. Every Sunday in October, join George for his crazy antics out in nature's fury at 7 and 10 p.m. Let's turn it over to Kevin at the Markham Fair and see what it's like outside today. They are adorable, that's for sure. Thanks so much, Kevin. Hopefully that turned out well. Let's turn it over to our short-term forecast. Tomorrow will be a tad warmer, might even hit that humidex of 30 tomorrow. But keep in mind that we're also, despite drawing in a southerly flow and having the temperatures up with the humidity, it's going to be windy tomorrow. That's one thing we want to mention for Friday. In advance of that, here's our warm front. We will see some Friday morning activity down in the southwest in terms of showers and rain, and then not until later in the day does it move across the GTA. That cold front passage for the GTA is likely to be the drive home. So late afternoon and early evening is when we would expect it to come through, and that's going to possibly bring us some thunderstorms. If we see anything, it would be non-severe, so not looking at any severe weather from this, but some rumbles of thunder and some heavier downpours in isolated areas possible in storms, and some lake enhancement here around Georgian Bay, 30 to 50 millimeters of rain, lesser amounts toward the GTA. There's the progression of our low, and keep in mind it's very cold and blustery. Our next active weather maker is in the process of getting its act together and strengthening as it approaches the Great Lakes, and it's going to be our next weather maker for the time being. Well, yesterday wasn't the best of days. We had a lot of the drive home tomorrow, maybe a bit dicey with wind and rain, but we'll check in on that in just a moment. First, though, let's check in with Kasia at Spring Ridge Farms.
Back to you inside.
Back to you inside. Thanks, Alvin. High five.
That is a future meteorologist and on-air presenter, guaranteed. Mark my words. Okay, let's take a look at our short-term forecast. What a great guy. And I love the tie, too. 21. A couple of things we want to mention with this. We've been enjoying the fall leaves, haven't we? All the colors, and in your neighborhood, it looks glorious at this time of year, doesn't it? The winds are picking up. And so this may be the last day that it looks so full, because a lot of those leaves are going to fall. There's no question, because these winds coming in are very strong, initially from the south. So if the leaves don't fall on Friday, they'll fall on Saturday, because the winds are picking up behind the front. The front passage could result in some thunderstorms too. So the drive home for the GTA is the one that's more dicey than the drive in. We'll see some rain developing in the southwest by tomorrow morning, but the GTA, it's not until the mid to late afternoon and evening that we'll see the rainfall, and potential for storms and winds picking up too. There's also some lake enhancement here. That's why we've shaded this into dark green at 30 to 50 millimeters with some enhancement north side of Georgian Bay. Some special weather statements are posted now for Superior because of the 50 to 80 expected there. So the front comes through. We also are looking at then the northwesterlies setting up behind it, and that brings down our temperatures. Thank you very much, Chris, for that rundown of the top 5. We are definitely headed towards some active weather to end the day on Friday. And before we get there, we are definitely going to be seeing an increase in wind. I'll give you highs yesterday. Kind of misty. We have had some fog at times too. Not all that bad, but now we're talking wind and rain for Friday. Let's turn it over to Kevin. See what it's like at the Markham Fair now.
Back inside to the studio. You're doing a good job, Kelly.
Thank you.
Very, very nice indeed. Let's turn it over to the weather and see what's going. Thank you, Kevin, for that. Unsettled north and warmer south. Yeah, basically this low pressure system is almost tracking nearly in a due north fashion. And with that, it's going to be bringing a warm front, the red, and the blue line is the cold front. The passage of that front for the GTA, and that's important to note because that has the better potential of some strong winds and maybe even some thunderstorms thrown in for good measure, would be more in the late afternoon and early evening. So the drive home, both hands on the wheel, I would suspect that's going to be the case because we have quite a bit of wind coming up in advance of that low, especially through central and southwestern Ontario. And then on top of that, big time rains through Sunday, 50 to 80 in the northeast. And then right around Georgian Bay, we're talking lake effect showers. With the front passing through, it's going to pick up that moisture on the relatively warmer lake waters and deposit that in the form of rain. So there's the progression of that. Yes, we will. Thank you so much, Kim. We always appreciate those videos. Let's get into the weather. What are we expecting now as our next low comes in? It's actually originating in Texas. It's moving up almost in a due north fashion. Typically, we see low pressure systems coming from the west and going east, but this one's coming up from the south. And with that, a warm front in red and a cold front in blue. The passage of that front over Toronto and the GTA, late afternoon, early evening, Friday. Possibly some thunderstorms thrown in for just to make it exciting for that drive home on Friday. Non-severe storms, so free rumbles of thunder are possible, but it could be also bringing us some downpours of rain at times. In terms of overall rain between now and Sunday, highest totals in the northeast around Espanola and back towards Wawa and Sault Ste. Marie. Those regions are going to be seeing the highest totals, and then 30 to 50 around Georgian Bay. That's a bit of lake enhancement around Georgian Bay, in fact. So we're at that time of year now where we're talking lake effect. In this case, showers, but nevertheless, it won't be long. We'll be talking about lake effect snow too. Low pressure system brings in the southwesterly winds, strong on Friday to start, and then behind it on Saturday, it will be cold and it will be blustery as the temperatures drop back into the teens.